Why, Marvel? Why? Why can't Spider-Man be more like his sidekick, Spider-Boy? Hey, it's Chuck, and yes, you heard me right. Why can't Peter Parker Spider-Man of the main Marvel Universe be more like Spider-Boy? Now, if you know who Spider-Boy is, you might be thinking, why would I want Spider-Man to be more like this crappy rip-off character that Marvel just invented? And if you don't know who Spider-Boy is, you might be thinking, Spider-Man has a sidekick? If you were thinking either of those things, that's okay. Just let me explain. As of 2023, Spider-Boy is Spider-Man's new sidekick in the main Marvel Universe. And although I say new, Spider-Boy has allegedly actually existed for all of Spider-Man's history, but he was erased from reality for so long that people forgot all about him and he was expunged from history. This massive retcon led to huge backlash from fans when the character was first announced. Spider-Boy hadn't even entered the comics yet, and the internet already hated him. It did lead to some pretty funny Spider-Boy memes though. But this widespread hate has caused most people to refuse to give Spider-Boy or his comics a chance. Instead, some people choose to ignore things that Spider-Boy appears in and argue that Spider-Man should never have a sidekick, which is an opinion many would agree with. And in the first few appearances of Spider-Boy, or reappearances during the recent Spider-Verse event, Spider-Boy played a small role and we didn't really find out much about his character. There was some explanation for his history with Peter, but it wasn't enough for Spider-Boy haters to kind of develop a connection with the character and change their mind. However, it would not be long before Marvel released a standalone Spider-Boy comic, and this would change everything. But before we dive deep into the history of Spider-Boy and Spider-Man, it's important to kind of see where Spider-Man's at right now. The current writer of the main Spider-Man comics is Zeb Wells, and when Zeb Wells was first announced as taking over the title, there was some excitement among fans. It wasn't like an all-out, oh my god, this is gonna suck. However, once Zeb Wells' issues of Spider-Man started actually coming out, people were like, oh my god, this sucks. So now, both Spider-Man and Spider-Boy's comics are being met with vitriolic hate, but for kind of different reasons. Most people didn't like the Spider-Boy announcement because they didn't like the idea of another retcon, or they didn't want Spider-Man to have a sidekick, or they were just plain tired of there being so many Spider characters in the main Marvel Universe, or even in the Spider-Verse. But Zeb Wells had written some fun and exciting Spider-Man stories previously, so when he was taking over the title, there was some excitement. And leading up to the first issue, the previous writer had already reunited Peter Parker and Mary Jane, and had implied that Peter was planning to propose to Mary. This was the first time they had been reunited since One More Day. However, with the start of the first issue in Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man run, Peter Parker and Mary Jane were now broken up and hated each other. Not only that, but Mary Jane had a new man and children? This pissed off readers, not just because of the idea that, they were being toyed with Peter and Mary Jane's relationship again, but the fact that there was no explanation for this in the first issue, and explanation wouldn't come for 20 or more issues. And even after the explanation, it really didn't make that much sense. So, in contrast, what's so special about the Spider-Boy solo series, and why did it change everything? Well, so far there have only been 5 issues of the Spider-Boy solo series. However, these issues have provided us with not only some critical backstory on what's going on with Spider-Boy's history, but also how he's reacting to coming back to this new world after being erased, and informing us on what's going on between him and his mentor, Peter Parker. However, as great as that is, that's not all that these issues have done. There are 3 critical things that the Spider-Boy comics are doing that the early Spider-Man comics did as well. The first thing that the early issues of the Spider-Boy comics have done is introduce us to Bailey's cast of characters. Like Peter, Bailey Briggs has his own unique set of characters, and he grew up in poverty and now lives in a feast center. At the feast center, Bailey has his own friends and loved ones, giving us much different relationships than what Peter Parker was doing in his early comics, and kind of setting Bailey apart. The second thing that the Spider-Boy issues have been doing is teaming up Spider-Boy with a number of other established characters. Much like in the early Amazing Spider-Man comics, where Spider-Man's seen teaming up with characters like the Fantastic Four and the Hulk, Spider-Boy's been seen teaming up along a whole cast of characters. Specifically, he's been seen teaming up with characters like Peter Parker Spider-Man, Miles Morales Spider-Man, Captain America, Thor, and Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman. These team-ups help Spider-Boy feel important in the Marvel Universe and kind of show us new dynamics between him and other characters. The third, and possibly the most important thing the Spider-Boy comics are doing, are working to create a unique set of villains for Spider-Boy to face off with. This might not seem important, but trust me, it is. When the Amazing Spider-Man title first launched, Spider-Man started getting his own unique villains every single issue. I mean, in the first 6 issues, Spider-Man met and fought the Chameleon, Doc Ock, Lizard, Vulture, and even faced off against the iconic Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom at the time was already an established Fantastic Four villain, but the others were brand new. Spider-Man getting his own cast of characters allowed for the character to grow and stand on his own 2 feet without relying on all the cameos from the other characters. But his face-off with Dr. Doom at the time also served a significant purpose because Dr. Doom was an established Fantastic Four villain, and Spider-Man taking on Dr. Doom just showed how powerful Spider-Man could be. I mean, if it takes 4 Fantastic Four members to take on Dr. Doom, and Spider-Man's taking on Dr. Doom with his intellect and spider powers, Spider-Man must be pretty cool, right? The Spider-Boy comics are doing a similar thing. Just within the first 5 issues, we're seeing crazy Spider-Boy villains like Killionaire, a murderous child with millions of dollars at his disposal, Madame Monstrosity, the mad scientist responsible for creating humanimals of her own creation, including Spider-Boy, Helafino, one of Spider-Boy's fellow humanimals, and Gutterball, a bowling-themed villain. At the same time, Spider-Boy has proven himself in a similar aspect to his predecessor, because he and Captain America took on Taskmaster, one of the most respected and skilled villains in the Marvel Universe. I don't say all of this to say that, oh, Spider-Boy haters, you're absolutely wrong, you suck. No, you're allowed to have your opinion, and you know, if you don't like Spider-Boy, that's okay. But if you haven't tried the comics, definitely give them a chance. What I do want to say is that due to a mix of popularity and editorial mandates, Spider-Man has lost track of its roots and kind of lost some of the magic of what it once was. And because of that, Spider-Man comics are kind of in a state of stagnation and convoluted storylines. In contrast, Spider-Boy is shaping up to be a return to form for the Spider-Man type character, not only paying homage to the original, but also being a breath of fresh air where creatives can create and experiment. So, in that way, I just want Spider-Man to be a little more like Spider-Boy. But what do you think? Should Spider-Man be more like Spider-Boy, or should Spider-Boy even exist at all? Thanks for watching.